Hello, happy Wednesday, everybody. And I'm excited to have Gerald Delp on the show here tonight. Gerald, if you don't know, Gerald was a trainer. Gerald, when did you stop training? I think it was back in 2011, right?
When I stopped,
Yeah, when did you stop training?
yeah, about that.
Okay. Okay. So about 10, 11 years ago. And Gerald has some great stories that he probably doesn't know what I'm going to be asking for questions here tonight, but I did a lot of research and I am really excited about this show tonight and talking to Gerald about his, career in horse racing, talking about his dad and talking about, one of the greatest horses probably of all time in spectacular bids. So I'm really excited to get going here. And Gerald, I guess the first question I would have is, I know you guys were teenagers, and I know you dropped out of school to work at the track and work with your dad. What was it like being a kid? Growing up with your dad as a famous trainer. What was that like?
Well, my father raised my brother and I, and plus, he's running a big stable. But I get myself got hooked at a young age. I used to go, the stables with my dad on when I was 7, 8 years old, and he taught me to read the racing form at a young age, and I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be just like my dad. And, I loved animals, loved horses, and so eventually dropped out of school freshman year in high school and went totally to work on the racetrack from then on until I retired from the track.
So how many days a week would you go to the track when you were a kid, would you say, to spend time with your dad? Because he had to be there every day, I'm sure.
Well, up until I dropped out of school, it was either the weekends for sure, and every holiday I'd be at the barn with him early, and any opportunity that I didn't have to be at school until I finally quit. I ended up skipping. I remember lunchtime was like 12 to 12:30, and the school we went to in Laurel, Maryland, was about a mile and a half from the racetrack. And it was like 10 to 12. We get out for lunch, and I tell my older brother I'm gone. I had to make the double. And, anyhow, till the nuns caught me, and that was it.
So you would race down the street for a mile and a half to get over to the track before
Oh
the first
yeah, well,
race?
when you're young, there it didn't take me long to get that far. And the guards, you weren't allowed in the track, but my dad was. Everyone knew my dad. They just looked the other way, and then all the old guys that worked horses for my dad, I'd find them in the grandstand, and they would run my bets. And I was always a good handicapper. Of course, my father taught me, and if I did good, I'd give them all money to. Most of them guys like to drink, and I said, here, go each go get yourself a bottle. And I said, don't tell my dad. They never ratted me out. Them guys were loyal. But
That's great. So when you did finally, you dropped out of school, and that was to work at the track full time with your dad.
yes.
What did he have you do? What kind of things did you do at the start?
Well, he put me down there with Mo, who was probably his best groom, who rubbed Spectacular Bid up until after the Belmont incident. And but he said, you go hang out with Mo every day, and he's going to teach you everything you need to know about a horse. And when he says you're ready, then I'm going to teach you how to train one. So I was a quick learner, and I was maybe a year with Mo down there, and he told my old man, he's ready. So right away, I was moved from that to stable foreman. Charlie Bettis was my dad's assistant, so I was like third in line, and I'd do the medications and set the feed and what really ever needed to be done. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get treated any special. Got paid what people supposed to get paid for that job, and my dad was very all business at the track, and,
It was one of
which
the
was
things.
good.
Yeah, I was one of the things I was going to ask you because You know, your dad he's a Hall of Fame trainer, and he did a lot of great things in the sport. How was that working for your dad? How did he treat you versus maybe some of the other people that worked in the stables? Was there anything different?
I think probably harder. He probably expected more out of me, and which back then, I feel differently now as I got older because he instilled, he was my idol, and he instilled a lot of great qualities in me that I still use today. And like he says if you work on the back of a garbage truck, be the best garbage picker upper out there. If you wash dishes, be the best dishwasher out there. And so whatever I when I retired, did this and that, and I always wanted to be the best at what I was doing, and that was something my father taught me. And I think it's a great quality to have.
And so, at what stage, Gerald, did Ronnie Franklin come into play? Because I know, I think he was the same thing. He dropped out of school,
He
and
did.
yep. And what happened with Ronnie? How did he end up in you guys' house living with you?
Well, I tell you, I don't think I had quite quit school yet, and we were at Pimlico stable, and it's always hard to get help there, and we needed hot walkers, and they paged at the time. If you needed help, you'd wait at the stable gate, and the guards would page, and they said, "Got a hot walker at the stable gate? Anyone needs one?" And we were a few barns down, and my uncle Dick went up there, who was one of my father's assistants, because he had two barns at this time, and here come Ronnie Franklin, never seen a horse or nothing. And he and I hit it off like brothers right away. And we stayed on the track like the following summer at the dormitories at Delaware and at Pimlico. And, we could have lived in the house at Laurel, but, I wanted to experience that, and so did Ronnie. We'd stay in the dormitories with the rest of the guys. And, shoot dice, play poker, and whatever. Had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun.
So, how long did Ronnie work as a hot walker for your dad before he decides that he wants Ronnie to be I guess, an exercise rider? How long did that take?
Ronnie worked hot walker. He helped for the blacksmith. He worked all day at the barn, similar to me, and probably about a year. And then he sent him maybe a little longer. I mean, you got to remember when Ronnie come into the gate, he was 16. 3 years later, he's winning the Kentucky Derby. So couldn't have been too long, a year maybe, because then he went down to Barbara's and they bought bid in 77, and Ronnie broke his maiden in 78. So, yeah, a year at the most. And he sent him down to Barbara Graham's farm, and that's where my father's yearlings would all get broke in Middleburg. Bid happened to be one of them. So Ronnie was getting on bid, before he even breezed, when he was getting broke. So,
What do you remember about your dad, like, and about Ronnie? How he handled bid at the end of the day? Like, if he's his exercise rider before he got broke, what was special about Ronnie on bid?
horses ran for Ronnie. You look at a lot of the great riders, it's not so much the strength and muscle, and it's in the hands. It's a God-given talent, in my opinion. And because you get an 1,100-1,200 pound horse that wants to do something, no 100-pound jockey's going to be able to stop him. It's more of a finesse. You look at Shoemaker, and like, I think Flavian Pratt's one of the top riders in the country today, personally. And horses just relax. And same with Ronnie. They just had Ronnie probably started too soon. He looked terrible on a horse, but he had that God-given talent where horses really ran for him. And he was fearless too. Certainly helps.
Yeah, and we just had a jockey on the past couple nights, and it seems like the same kind of thing where I'm hearing that when you have a jockey, it's not always about, who's the strongest or, I think you got to be fearless as part of it, but it's really about the best jockeys kind of know how to handle a horse and how to be patient. It seems like there's a lot to it that I don't truly all understand at the end of the day.
Well, I agree. I don't know who that rider was, but I think he told you correctly. It's communicating with, through the horse, through your hands. Just like, I don't know if, I've always had a dog as a pet. And same with them, it's the communication that bond us. And, if you're afraid of them, they can sense it. Same with a racehorse. And they're like, I got this guy. No matter if you're rubbing on them or walking them, they're going to just toy with you. But when you're not afraid and the horse can sense you're not afraid, they relax. Now, I was taught to never let your guard down around a horse because, it could be the most calmest horse in the barn, but, a bee land on them and sting them, they ain't going to be calm, So I have a healthy respect for them, but I'm certainly not afraid of them.
Yeah, that's what my dad taught me too. Never walk behind a horse. But from what I'm reading and what I saw, it looks like Spectacular Bid he could be nasty at times, walking around and stuff. Is that accurate?
He was a colt. I wouldn't say he was mean, but he could get fresh, when he breezed and get to cooling out, he needed to do something. So yeah, he's getting a little frisky. Or when you give him a bath, and you're rubbing a scraper on him, a lot of them horses will kick and want to bite. But mostly when they're colts, do that more. But would I describe Bid as mean? No, no.
Yeah, I don't know how. I was gonna see how well this will actually show up on screen here at the end of the day, and it doesn't show up very well. But when I look at the PPs and I look at Spectacular Bid and see what he did and his great. So Ronnie, how did your dad decide? Now, first off, your dad was very confident with his horse. He knew he had something special here. How did he decide? Ronnie's he's a young jockey. He's new to this game. Why did he decide to give Spectacular Bid? I guess um, give him the mount for this horse.
Well, we knew he was special. Certainly, who knew he was going to be what he was going to be, but we knew he was above all the other ones. And we had a few other 2-year-olds that could run, and he would just dust them all with ease. And Ronnie was riding everything at the time. It was a maiden special weight, and he certainly knew the horse ran for Ronnie. He'd been getting on him since he was a yearling, for crying out loud. So they had a repertoire together, and as it shows in the way the horse ran for Ronnie.
How much did that relationship change after the Belmont, and how hard was that to replace him?
Well, Ronnie came to California with us. He knew he had opportunity to stay in Maryland and ride. My uncle was in Maryland with the rest of the horses. Or he could come to California. He says, I want to go to California where the best riders are, and I want to learn. And he knew he wasn't riding a bid, but, Ronnie did ride a lot of horses out there. He won a few, but, when you sit there at that time and watching the likes of Chris McCarron, Pinkai, Eddie Delahousie, and Fernando Toro, and just the list goes on, it's hard not to learn things from them guys, And Shoemaker riding a bid, certainly he was around him a lot too, and it made Ronnie a better rider that time in California for sure.
Can you kind of walk us through that day after he crushed in the Derby, crushed in the Preakness? Walk us through the whole Belmont day and everything that happened there.
Well, yeah, my father and I were up there 2 weeks prior, and we stayed at the Plaza. My brother and Ronnie came up a week before, but horse was training great, and he'd always chew at his bandages. So at night we would put his bandages, reset his bandages with pins, and then we'd take tape, put it over the pins, and put red pepper on it to tear him from chewing at him. Well, the groom Mo did all that. Plus, he was bedded probably so deep in straw that for him to anyhow, he forgot to put the tape on. He tore the bandages off. I remember getting out of the car, and Mo said, "Boss, we got a problem. His horse is lame." And I forget what, I think it was a left front. I'm not sure, but I think it was a left front. And Dad went in, picked up the foot, and there, sure enough, there's a pin sticking out. He pulled it out. Well, naturally, the lameness went away. But and my first words, I was like, "Dad, you got to scratch this horse." So he didn't say nothing. He's evaluating the situation. And, I'm assuming he got his vet at the time. And anyhow, they worked on him like you do with a foot, tub it, warm water, Epsom salt, ice, walk, all the things you do. Put a animal Lintex poultice on it and worked on it all day. And he says, if he's not sound, I'm not going to run him. And, the horse jogged sound, when he, in time enough, I think he had an hour before post to scratch. And he was sound at that time. And, he decided to run it. And we talked about it. I'm like, why are you running? He said, son, I'm 1-9 to win the Triple Crown. I'll probably never be here again. And I think he'll win regardless. And I can understand that decision today. Was it the right one? I don't know. Was it, Ronnie certainly didn't. Now, my father didn't tell Ronnie to go out and try and break Secretariat's record like so many people said he did. That did not happen. And, why Ronnie went after a 100-to-1 shot. He had a rough week with Cordero leading up to it. They got in a fight in the tunnel. And, of course, everyone was, it seemed like everyone was rooting against him, there in New York. My dad was very braggadocious, but the horse backed it up, but still wasn't very liked. So I think there was a lot of pressure on Ronnie, and I think he just wanted it all over with, and so he figured he'd get in a hurry and get it all over with fast. So if he would have rode the horse like he rode him in the Kentucky Derby, let him settle and make one run, I still believe he would have won that day. But you can't go them kind of fractions he did on 1.5 miles and win.
Gerald, what did he say? What did Ronnie say? Was it the fact that, because I know Cordero, I guess they had a run in the tunnel. I didn't know that piece of it, but I also know that I guess there was a race right before the Belmont, and Cordero was very aggressive on his ride, and it intimidated Ronnie. And that's. Did you guys ever talk about that?
Well, of course, my dad did. I mean, that was they got in a fist fight in the tunnel. I think that's the race they're talking about. And Ronnie, tough guy, he went right up, and they were, how Belmont's got that closed in, but they were actually fist fighting in the tunnel. Ronnie thought that Angel was trying to drop him, and just like in the Preakness, if you watch that down the backside, Angel Cordero tried to get Ronnie to come inside. He took Screen King past the middle of the racetrack, and they all ganged up to try and beat Bid, but Bid was so good. Why did they do it? I think a lot of them did it because they didn't get the mount on him. I remember when he took them off to ride Velasquez, and I think Velasquez went 2 for 2 on him. But after the Meadowlands race, he come back. He barely beat Strike Your Colors. And he told my dad, he said, this horse needs a burr and extended blinker. And my dad told the Meyer house, we got to find another jockey. This horse don't mean nothing but a deep hit. And that's when the Meyer house and my dad decided to put Ronnie back on for the Laurel Fraternity. And I don't think he lost on him again till the Belmont.
Yeah, I think it says something for your dad though, because one of the comments I pulled out is somebody asked your dad, if he ever regretted putting Ronnie on bid as long as he did, and he didn't regret it. He says he didn't because bid really ran for him at the end of the day, and the concern was, and I could just feel, listen, Ronnie was 19 years old, like you said, when he won the Derby. I can't tell you what I was doing at 19 years old, but the pressure that he must have been under to ride those 2 races, and then especially the way the Belmont unfolded, the way it did, and he obviously probably let your dad down a little bit, and your dad was really upset, I know, after the race, from what I've seen. But I know Ronnie had some demons and stuff with some substance abuse after all this stuff happened. And I know you guys got into some trouble. I know you guys, I think you actually went to jail together. And then when you came out, I think you actually lived together. What was that like? I guess after all that stuff happened, you guys are still pretty young. And, what was that like, I guess, coming out of all that? And you guys went through all that stuff that you did through the Triple Crown races.
Well, even before, me and Ronnie liked to party, obviously. And, even when we did the time in jail, we had already rented a place at Monmouth Park because we were supposedly supposed to get probation, and the judge had other thoughts. We got 60 days, but, the first thing we did when we got out was had a big party, and, we were on probation, I think, for 2 years. We could have went to prison, and but it never crossed our mind. Eventually, I decided I had to change my way of life, and then that's kind of when they say anyhow. I just had to hang around different people after that. Not that I didn't stay in touch with Ronnie, but we didn't. We stopped living together. He had got his own place, and he had a girlfriend, and he was doing well, riding in Maryland, making good money, and I would see him, but our relationship changed in that sense because I couldn't keep that pace up what we were doing.
No, absolutely. And people forget too. I mean, Ronnie won. I think it was over 1,000 races. I don't know the exact number, but he was a pretty good jockey.
Ronnie was an excellent rider, and he won his first race at Bowie, and it was a film that Pioneer Patty, her name was, and she would climb the walls. We had to put rubber on her walls. She was a cuckoo bird, and her form was bad, but Ronnie had the 10-pound bug, obviously, at the time, but my father let him breeze her a couple times, and she worked really good, and he put him on her, and
nope. Hopefully we lost you for a second, Gerald. You still there?
Now he's on mute.
Uh-oh. I don't think he's on mute.
Gerald, can you hear us? He's on mute, Chris. You just put him on mute.
Hang on. It says unmute mic. Can't unmute your guest because they choose to mute themselves.
There you go.
Hey, Gerald, can you hear me? You have to unmute yourself. Are you back? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
can you hear me? He can't hear me. No. I'm unmuted. All right. So technical difficulties.
I'm going to see if I can get him to come out and go back in.
You want me to remove him, Sean?
Yeah, if you can do that. And now I got the big head.
So, you know, you won't have the big head because I'll share. I want to share something with everybody anyway. While, you know, we're figuring this piece out with him, but it's easier for me, I guess, to show. I wanted to show the PPs, but it didn't come out as good as it was. But, you know, when you see a great horse like Spectacular Bid and you see, you know, what they've done and what's going on. I mean, it's very interesting. I was looking at this earlier today. You know, wins his maiden special weight. I think a lot of great horses probably do that. And then he comes back on his allowance. Let me see if he's back now. Whoops. Come over here. Oh, he's disconnected again. But you look at it and you look and see where he stood. Now, during this stakes race here that was at Monmouth Park. No, the guest is not done. Just so you know, just hold on. We're gonna try and get Gerald back on. And then this was a sloppy track, but then you look at this thing and you look and see what he did. I mean, look at the first places. This horse was unbelievable. I think Gerald's coming back on now. All right, let me see if I can get Gerald back on. Gerald, can you hear me again? Gerald, can you hear me? Hey, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay, so we can hear him, but he can't hear us.
He can't hear us. Okay. So, all right. So, and then getting back to it, just look at the races that we had. Look at how he did. And now we know the Belmont Stakes that we were talking about and where he finished third. And then you look at it and you got another first in an allowance race, first in a grade 1. And then this Jockey Gold Cup that I want to call out. This is so, you know, when Shoemaker looked back on his regrets, one of the things that he talked about is he got the horse out of the gate late. And he truly believes he could have won that race at the end of the day. Now watch this. Look at all the great races this horse did. I mean, first place all the way straight through. And something that really, you know, kind of touched me a little bit. And I didn't know this. I mean, listen, you have to, you know, research history to know history and understand how special this horse was. You know, there's a lot of stats out there on how great Spectacular Bid is. But when I look at the Woodward, we're going to try Gerald one more time. We're going to see if we can get him on here at the thing. Hopefully we're going to get him. All right. Gerald, please tell me you can hear me now.
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right. Golden.
Yeah.
I was just going through some of the race stats that I'll get to in a minute.
Okay.
I'll get you back. I'll get you back over here. But I don't know where we left it at. I guess my next question would be, when your dad takes Ronnie off the mount now. So after the Belmont, he's obviously, you know, makes the jockey change. And I was just going through, you know, some of the great things that, you know, Shoemaker did when he rode the horse. And I look at it and you know, it's just amazing what the horse did after the Belmont. And anybody wants to think for a second that this isn't one of the greatest horses of all time. You know, he was a champion at 2-year-old. He's a champion 3-year-old. In his 4-year-old season, he was undefeated. And no, we hope we didn't lose him again, Sean. All right. You can still hear me, Gerald?
Yeah.
I think we got a bad connection here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you just talk about after the Belmont Stakes race? What was that like with Spectacular Bid and your dad and kind of going to the track and going through this whole thing? Because that's where I think the true greatness of the horse really came out.
Well, the horse's hoof got infected. And, you know, it was at a point. I remember when Jack Reynolds, we got back to Pimlico with the horse and the foot's on fire. Horse got a temperature. And the blacksmith that shot him, Jack Reynolds, he was in Omaha, Nebraska. The Meyerhoffs had him flown in, Dr. Hardhill flown in, and they asked my father, "You remember where the pin was?" And good thing he did. He said it was in this area right here. Well, the blacksmith had to par and par and par, and you can only par so far into the bottom of a horse's foot. And finally, he got the spot, and black pus started coming out. That was the infection, and but they saved that horse's life. So after the infection drained, they got it all out. Then Jack Reynolds made a special shoe that had wasn't a bar shoe, but it had a plate over that covered where the pin was at, because they had to par pretty deep. That way he was able to train the horse, not hard, but enough where he could keep him moving, light gallops. And you could tell he was crabby. That thing was still hurting him, but he was able to not lose that fitness, you know what I mean? Until he got sound enough where he could start doing more. And they continued to, do the things you do for a horse that has a problem like that in the hoof, whirlpool, poultice to draw it out, et cetera, et cetera. And it was not an easy decision to take Ronnie off. I know the Meyerhoffs and my dad, they discussed it at length. And I think the Meyerhoffs were leaning toward not taking Ronnie off. And my dad, I think his decision, they certainly listened to their trainer, and in my dad's mind, it was time to make that change, because Ronnie got in trouble at the Disneyland thing, and that's what definitely made it a no-brainer then. That was the first time Ronnie got arrested. He went out for the Eclipse Award for I think Outstanding Apprentice in California, and he got busted in the car at, I don't know, what's it, Disney World or Disneyland in California, whatever one's out there. And so it was an easy decision after that happened that Ronnie had to come off. So
yeah, and the other thing I was gonna add is I was looking at the PPs, Gerald, and you want to talk about how great a horse is, and I'm looking at the weight that this horse had to carry to race against other horses. It's more than anything I've probably ever seen before, because I was looking at what the second and third place horses in a lot of these races, what they were carrying. I mean, Spectacular Bid was carrying, in some cases, 7-8 pounds more than every other horse in the field, and he still beat him.
Yeah, he was the last horse that really truly carried weight. I mean, I remember the Haskell when he beat Gloria Song. Hell, she was champion filly in Canada, and I forget. I don't think it was 13 or 14 pounds he spotted her that day. And he had to run. Weight brings them together. I miss them old handicap races, but they're a thing of the past.
Yeah, and probably one of the things, I'm a historian buff, and I like to go back and look at things. I did not realize what the Woodward. I didn't know what a walkover was. I've never heard of that term before, and I actually just learned this today, that the other horses didn't want to race against him because they were afraid. In his very last race, they were afraid that if Spectacular Bid beat him handily by 10-20 lengths, they're probably not going to win the 3-year-old championship. So that's why they pulled out of the race, and Spectacular Bid just ran against himself in his very last race at Belmont. I'm surprised I didn't know about that. But what do you remember about the Woodward and how that all went down?
Connection.
I really wanted to hear the answer here.
We can't.
And if I get him back on, I'll ask you guys that are listening and watching, if you guys you want to tee up a couple questions, we can certainly ask Gerald.
Yeah, they got a couple questions over there too.
Yep. So I got to get Gerald back. Gerald, can you hear me again?
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
I think if my lips said, he said, leave and come back in. If you can do that, Gerald.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
do the
So
we'll do.
I'm starting to be able to read lips too. All the talent you acquire.
Look at you. This is what's really good. And Diane, I see your note about the walkover. See, I was not a horse race fan. I was a little kid back then, but I did not realize the history of what happened there. And I think it was like the first time. And I don't know if this has happened since 1980 when this occurred. I don't think it's happened again, but I didn't know what the term walkover was, like I was saying. And it's just amazing that this horse was so great. Nobody would race against him. And he absolutely just blew the field away. So, all right. See, Gerald's getting back in. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We're going to give it another shot. Gerald, can you hear us again? All right. We got you. Awesome. All right. We got you. We're going to wrap up. My question I asked is, what do you remember about the Woodward in his last race?
I didn't even go that day. I stayed home in Maryland.
Okay.
Watched it on the TV.
probably by then you've already seen Spectacular Bit win all these times. It probably wasn't that big a deal anymore.
No, and I'm sure I had a lot of work to do down there. Probably running horses and whatnot. So.
Yeah. Now Jordan is on, and Jordan asked the question: do you ever miss training horses?
I miss the horses. I don't miss the business side of the racetrack. But yeah, I do miss the horses.
What was so hard about the business side of it?
Well, different today than it was. There's not the loyalty you have with the owners. The owners today want, instant results, and a lot of them made their money, stock market or whatever. Horses and animals, they tell you when you're ready to run.
And then Robert Bryan also says you were a great jockey's agent as well. Talk about that experience and some of the jockeys you represented.
Well, I had Ronnie's book. I had Julie Crone's book. I started her bug career after Chick Lang. And I told my father, I said, Dad, this girl horses run for her. And she only became the greatest female rider in the country. And I don't know, she was supposed to come to Fairgrounds the first year we went. I'm down there. I got her book full of calls. Ronnie was going to stay in Maryland and ride my father's second string that had to run under my Uncle Richard, because if a trainer's gone for 2 weeks, they had to have someone else down. So I'm down there like 2 days before they're ready to take entries, and my dad calls and he says, Ronnie's crying, yada, 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 yada. He wants to come to New Orleans. So, of course, I'm like, geez, yeah, I got to, I knew I was going to roll with Julie and the bug down there. And so Julie ended up staying in Maryland. That's when Snake took her book. And Ronnie and I go to New Orleans, which we were leading rider. We did great. We broke the record, 120 wins. But anyhow. And then I had Tommy Kupfer. I worked 8 years for Mario Pino. That was probably the best job I ever had on the racetrack. Such a class act and such a very underrated rider. Mario was a very good rider. But when you said, Mario, you got to be here to work this one, you didn't have to worry about him giving you a phone call and give you some story that why he couldn't be there. He took care of business, and that's why he's 10th leading rider on the list and wins in the country.
Good.
But yeah, being an agent, my father wanted me to be an agent, and Lou DeFici taught me out of New York. He had Ronnie's book in Florida the first year we went, and I went around with them all that winter, and I got to meet all these top trainers, watch him, and the man taught me the condition book, and it was great for, when I did end up training horses, because you certainly need to run your horses in the right race. If you run them over their head, you ain't going to win a lot of races. I don't care how good a trainer you are.
I got 2 last questions. In your opinion, is Spectacular Bid the greatest horse to live of all time?
Well, I'd rank them in the top 10 for sure. I mean, am I going to sit here and say, yes, I could argue with anybody is, but the horse that hooked me on the game when I was just a kid was Ruffian. And I remember the sad day, and I cried like a baby, but she was very special, and of course, Secretariat, and then Affirmed. How could you not, love that Triple Crown battle between him and Aladar? And, I didn't appreciate it as much. Here I come around one of the greatest horses of all time when I'm just a teenager. I expected that every year. And, I have never been one around. I've been around a lot of good horses, but I can't even say I've been around another great horse that, my father trained, and he's had some good ones. Timeless Native, Dispersal, horses that won grade ones, but they weren't great horses. They were good horses, but they weren't great. Bid's the only great one I've ever been around, for sure. And when I say he's the greatest of our time, I didn't see Dr. Feger run. I know my father said the best horse he ever seen run outside of Bid was Dr. Feger. And that, the only way they got really get him beat when they sent a rabbit out there. But I never saw a lot of great horses run, so it's hard to compare.
Then my last question would be, you touched on already about the naysayers with the safety pins. There'll still be naysayers that say that never happened. How do you prove and tell people that for sure that happened?
Well, what do I have to lie for?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm one of the few people, I think, the book that we mentioned, Tommy Meyerhoff, is still alive, and I haven't finished it yet, but, I have no reason to lie. Anyhow, a lot of people are still going to doubt it, and I just chuckle at it. I was there. I know what happened.
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to doubt it. I'm going to tell you that for sure, Gerald. I can tell you that here's an interesting factoid I pulled out today, and I don't know who came up with this or whatever, but somebody said if Secretariat, who holds the Kentucky Derby record for the same distance and at an equal weight, would have lost by 8 lengths to Spectacular Bid if he ran the same speed as he did in the Derby. So I'm not saying he's better than Secretariat, but that's impressive.
Very impressive. And, I compare, track variants are different from day to day, especially Churchill Downs. Some horses like that oval, some don't. But Secretariat had some dog in him because, when he was inside and Onion beat him in New York, he could throw a clunker. Bid never really threw a clunker. He had those excuses in every race for that horse.
Well, Spectacular Bid's in my top 3. Yeah, he went from like 5 to 3 just based on my preparation I did for this interview. And Sean, did you have any other questions for Gerald you wanted to ask?
You want to bring up Jordan's question there about the heyday of big crowds?
Yeah, let's ask this question. So the heyday of big crowds of the track are a thing of the past. I recall having trouble parking at Garden State Park in the 80s. Do you think that the crowds are ever going to come back and the sport will continue to grow?
No, I don't. I think there'll be crowds on Derby Day, Preakness, Breeders' Cup, but there's too many apps where you can sit right in your living room and bet in your shorts and bet all you want, click, get paid just as fast. Why go? No, I don't think you're going to see the crowds like that, except on them special days. That's my opinion, which I miss. I remember when I was, 10, 11 years old and going to Atlantic City and Monmouth, you couldn't move. Be 25,000 people at the track, Them days are over. Sad to say.
Yeah, why do you think, because I'm a big push for that with obviously like shows like this, getting to know people inside the sport. I say this all the time. If people went to the track, kind of knew the jockeys who want to be open to the public, why do you think tracks have such a pushback and such a hard time?
Well, the tracks, the only reason horses got to run, because it's that's how they got the casinos. So they got to run X amount of days. That don't mean they have to promote it, do nothing. So that's why you see the tracks cancel racing so quick. If it starts raining hard, all of a sudden their cards cancel. I remember racing at Bowie. You couldn't see across the track. Snow was blowing so hard, but they ran. But yeah, if it was up to the casinos, which run the racing, they have to run X amount of days. Each state's different. They would much rather have no horse racing at all. So they're not going to promote that side. And unfortunately, the horse people really don't promote it. So.
Yeah, Gerald, I wanted to say, sincere. I'd like to have you back on again because I got about 8 million more questions, and I know.
Yeah, and I just got a computer I got to get set up, so we might not have this problem.
Yeah, and it's great. I'd love to have you back on to talk more about your life and horse racing and what's happening, because this is the stuff I really enjoy and I'm passionate about, is learning about history. And you're a piece of history because you lived it. And we're just watching it today, going back on YouTube and all the technology, but you lived it. And I get very excited about talking about this thing and bringing Spectacular Bid back to life, talking about your Hall of Fame trainer dad. Just a lot of great things, and I really appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks for having me on, and I'd love to come back on anytime.
Absolutely. I'll keep in touch with you, Gerald, and we'll definitely schedule another date and talk some more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
Okay.
We had our Lone Star Clocker report.
She has been waiting patiently underneath for a long time because I've been watching her. Miss Erica Starr, and she's got a following.
Hello. How are you guys?
We are fantastic, and we were just waiting because we want to know the Clocker report because you've been doing so well with it.
I'm telling you, Erica, I get messages every night Lone Star runs about how well your stuff's coming in. So,
that's great. No, that's great to hear. I get a little nervous sometimes. I know sometimes I don't hit a few, but definitely keep up. So like I said, hopefully people are winning money. Hopefully people are betting, here at Lone Star Park, because you might not have the ability here in a couple of weeks. So do all that you can to bet on Lone Star Park.
What are your thoughts on that? And also, are you living out there with all that heat? They canceled, right?
Yep, we did cancel this Sunday. I know the heat index was going to get up to about like 116 here or something like that. So very hot. So not good for the horses. Not really good for anybody. So we did cancel. So there could be a possibility of maybe some changes happening here soon. But yeah, so again we canceled. But just been working in the morning, clocking horses. I'm still working. Horses are still out there working. It's a good thing we work early. We've been watering the tracks down, keeping them moist and everything. So I've been doing good with that.
So what have you seen so far for this week?
This week, so actually there is one horse I would like to talk about. Actually just a few. Eddie Cruz, the horse of Eddie Cruz. I'm not too familiar with that trainer. He's a small trainer here at Lone Star Park. But sometimes he just, just gets in a few winners here and there. And there's been a horse that's been working out, hasn't ran yet. My Little Whiskey Girl. She started off here in May, seeing her workouts, and just gradually has gradually gotten better over time. She started out like 53s, back in May, and then actually has gotten better. She worked this Sunday and went 49 and actually looked really good on the track. And so, that's somebody to look forward to in running. He also, Eddie Cruz, has a horse in this Sunday in one of the stakes races we have here on Sunday. We have some stakes going on. He is in race 11, and it's the Lane's End Danny stakes. And he has a 30-1 shot in there, actually. And this horse, I had been looking forward to seeing her run. Optimistic Cowgirl is the name of the horse. And so like I said, she's going to be running, and it's a long shot, but has been working well as well. And so I kind of like those long shots. I throw those in there on the card, and they tend to hit the board. So, those are good payouts, 30-1. So Eddie Cruz is the man to pay attention to this week for that race 11 here on the stakes day. Another workout for Austin Gustafson. He does great with babies. There's one I've been watching, and Emerald is the name. It's a dual workout. Like I said, works really well. 49s every time it goes 4 furlongs, and actually worked at Churchill Downs as well. So coming from Churchill, 59.80 it worked back in April. And so this horse has yet to run here at Lone Star Park. And so I'm actually looking forward to seeing this horse run. And yeah, so like I said, Emerald is the one that's been working well as this one is one I know is going to definitely probably win. It's first time out, Safarada for him. Safaradada. It's a weird, odd name, but works with Tolanda. And if you all are familiar with Tolanda, this horse won a stakes race, back in Sam Houston. This was in March. It was $100,000 race, 6 furlongs, and Tolanda was the name of the horse. And just a little inside information is Safaradada. It's hard to say the name, so excuse me for butchering it, guys. If I'm saying it wrong, sorry, Austin. But that horse has been working with Tolanda, and so I'm excited to see this horse run for the first time. So Emerald and that horse that I just said, I'm not going to say the name again, so hopefully you guys heard it like the third time I butchered it. So
She gonna be a heavy favorite?
I'm sorry.
She gonna be a heavy favorite?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But like I said, I like it, and like I said, we'll see. So you guys keep that horse on your mind when it does run. Like I said, it has yet to run. So.
And that 30-1 morning line will be cut in half because they got the Erica Star report. So it'll be about 15-1 when it goes on.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. If people watch the show enough, like I said, hopefully, I know Gerald was saying that, some people, horse racing, we don't do a lot of promotions, like it's kind of died down over time. And that's something I would, I'm working on currently is, promoting more of racetracks, Lone Star Park, do different social media outlets, Instagram, Twitter, here, guys, YouTube, to appeal to, the younger audience or, people who aren't familiar with horse racing. There's people who I met, I think a week back, some guys I had met coming up on the elevator, and they had never been to a race before. And I kind of went over the program with them really quick, gave them a few winners, and they loved it. They said, they were going to be back. They actually won. I was glad I actually gave them some winners. And so they ended up winning, said that they'd be back at Lone Star Park, to bet. And again, they weren't familiar with racing, but, you learn something new. And if you're willing to learn, I think people will go far with it. And again, like this, this channel helps a lot. And so again, kind of just promoting, promoting Lone Star, again, promoting these horses, these workouts. I get to see, people don't know about horses working out in the morning and what they do to get ready for races. And so I like to provide that for you all. But another workout I like to talk about is Chive Up. So this horse is for Brett Calhoun, has ran at Will Rogers a few times, a couple allowance races, but this horse has been working at Lone Star Park, hasn't ran yet, but it runs tomorrow. Runs tomorrow in a claiming, so I believe, and I'm looking forward to seeing her win. It's a little filly, so I think she'll win tomorrow, guys. Chive Up is one to look at for tomorrow. So yeah.
Weather look better tomorrow?
I'm sorry?
Does the weather look better tomorrow?
It's still going to be hot, but we run in the evening tomorrow, so that's a good thing. We run in the evening. We start about 6:30, so it's cooled down by then, same as for Friday. Saturday and Sunday, I'm not sure if they'll change post times or not, but we're set for afternoon, so we'll see what happens. Again, it's supposed to be hot this week. So, and I know of a lot of racetracks canceling up there, up north, due to the heat. So, Texas is just that much hotter here. So
yeah, it's all around the country right now.
Yeah, this heat wave going on.
That's all right. Heat is good. When you live in the Northeast, you want lots of heat. Summer can't last long enough. But Sean, question came up. Jordan asked, do we post Erica's suggestions on the website?
No, they're all right here. Maybe that's something we can do and jot it
Okay.
down and make a link for that as well. That's something we can do in the future.
We'll take that back. That's a good call out, Jordan.
Yep, and usually too, I post them. I kind of, I'm kind of last minute girl, but the day of racing, I'll try to post like an hour ahead my picks, for the day. Some days I miss, but I usually put them up there if they keep up with that, so you can find them there on my Twitter.
Yeah, as much as you got to follow at Horse Race Today, follow at Erica _star. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
So the only complaint I ever got about your picks is somebody's getting corporal tunnel for typing in so many winning bets. He's like corporal tunnel. So
That's awesome.
We don't want that, but he's at least cashing tickets, and he's gonna be able to pay for the surgery because he's winning. So
Oh yeah, for sure. I know they have like injections like for your wrist or something. I know a couple clockers who actually get that because they've clocked for so long over time. I might need them one day, but yeah, definitely can do something like that. Keep betting though. I love it. Like I said, I love it. All good injuries. No, I'm kidding.
I think I got to change my craft, Sean. I think I got to be a clocker, but my problem is I hate getting up before 7 o'clock in the morning. So
yeah, that's a big time.
I think that could be a problem.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. But
Eric, you're probably halfway through your day by then.
Yeah. No, it's just like I said. It's nice though. Like I said, being done. Can sleep the rest of the day, dream about winning. No, no, it's great. Like I said, I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing the horses out there, and like I said, I love seeing horses do better over time. And it's just pretty neat. Another horse I want to talk about, Algebra. If you guys kept up with Algebra, Caldwell, he's a great runner. He runs, this weekend in the stakes. Probably going to win again. I love him. A lot of information that people don't know. I actually just groomed that horse for a little bit of time when I first arrived in Texas. And so again, watching this horse's growth over the years and just how he's done is just, like I said, it's pretty neat, as a fan and as an employee, it's just awesome to see that. So
there we go. Do you have anything else to add?
I have a lot more. I just don't know how much time I have, guys.
You have as much time as you want, Erica.
I could give you picks for every race. I went, Sunday's card. I just went through the stakes, and like I said, Algebra's in race 7. I haven't picked to win. And then the 4, Chacatana is a small time trainer here in Texas. Domingo Chacatana. He's actually a jockey, a trainer, and the owner. And so you'll see him out there working his horses. So it's kind of neat seeing those trainers and owners. And, he's a jockey. He's out there, with these horses, working them. And so that horse is in the stakes. And I think will do well. Has Rudy Guerra. Rudy Guerra is also somebody, jockey that is out there every day working horses for different trainers. And I love to see him. He does well on the different trainers. Todd Fincher. He's on Asmussen sometimes. Again, he's on Chacatana, and they're in that stake, so I think they're going to hit the board. Race 8, the Texas Horse Hall of Fame race. Big one is one that I think would do well. So I gave you Presidential for Asmussen here a couple weeks ago for the Texas Derby, and he went off at 21-1 and ended up coming in second. I think lost by like maybe a nose, a neck, if that. And so this one for Asmussen, big one, is 15-1, and that's in race 8. And Luis Quinones is on him, and I think that horse, might just do it again, 15-1. But as you said, he might go off to like 7-1 now that I said something.
There you go.
Yeah, but hey, that's great. That's great still, he runs against Kenai Bob. I love Kenai Bob. Again, that's a horse I kept up with since I came to Texas. He's with Francisco Bravo. Was with Mindy Willis when I first, seen him work, and I just love that horse. So that horse is actually running against Big One. So again, it's going to be between them two. We'll see what happens. Race 9, the Texas Stallion race. I'm a cowboy for Danny Pish. That's my first pick. That horse won its maiden special weight here about, I think it was like a week ago, and did great. I mean, I had that horse picked to win. If you all watch that race, I said he'd win that race. He ended up winning really well. So he runs this week. And again, I have him picked. Bling, bling, bling. I have him picked for second for Asmussen. I saw this horse work on Sunday. Worked great. Just a short 3 furlongs, but went easy, like an easy 38 about. And so Them two, I'm a Cowboy, and Bling 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 are the two for the Texas Stallion race on Sunday. So again, like I say, I go through them and make my little selections, you all. So if you pay attention here, I hope you all win some money. And then race 10, I have Asmussen again. Asmussen tends to, do well for, during these stakes. He keeps it home, which I love. I know he's from here, and so I love that, when he wins. Come to Party is one that's been working really well. So I like the workouts from, how that horse works, seeing it work. So I know it's going to do really well in its race. So goes against Much Aloha, who ran second in the maiden special weight on the 5th of June here. That's for Brett Calhoun. That horse did well. So I have Come to Party and then Much Aloha in there for race 10. And I told you for race 11 was my long shot, Eddie Cruz. He's going against Miss Perfecta. Asmussen again is in that last race. So I'm going to just go for the long shot. I'm going to go for the 30-1 and hope, Cruz pulls it off for me.
Well, if that happens, Twitter will really be going off that night.
Oh,
So
gosh.
I will know.
They'll go off on me too if I get it wrong.
If that happens, she comes over to me and she becomes my personal clocker for Saratoga in the summer.
Oh, there you go. I wouldn't mind. That'd be fun. I actually have never been to Saratoga. I haven't been to any like up east, coast, East Coast track. So I'd love to get out there one day. One of the chart callers, he's been everywhere up there in the east. He's actually at Penn National right now writing the charts, and it's beautiful, I've heard. So hopefully soon, hopefully this summer, we'll see what happens. Like again, we'll see what happens with Texas horse racing here.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Texas is doing it big, and I'm all for some farmers and these hardworking horsemen. I mean, and the horses too. So it's all for the greater good what everyone's doing. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, we'll see what happens here.
Jordan Parks is trying to add more work to myself here by I need to make a transcript of all these tips and post them. Not this week, Jordan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, for sure. Eventually, but like I said, we'll see. We still have a month left of racing. About July 17th, I believe, is the last day of racing. So we still have some time to work on something to get that transcript or something like that. So.
And what will you be doing after that?
I'm not sure yet. Actually, we kind of have a break here, and I actually clocked the quarter horse meet last year, so we'll see what happens. Equibase tends to move us around during the seasons, off season. So we'll see if I get relocated someplace else, which would be nice. Maybe Indiana or something. That'd be neat. I love Indiana. I love the track up there. All the trainers, I love the horses. Like I said, it's a good long track, and I like the mixed meet. They have the 2 quarter horse races at the end there, so I love that. So we'll see if I'm up there. Or I don't know. It's kind of open, just open for the summer. Maybe I'll go on vacation somewhere. Maybe I'll go to the East Coast, go check that place out.
After giving out all these winners, you definitely deserve a vacation. So.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah. People, can contribute their winnings to me. No, I'm kidding. Send me on a vacation somewhere. No, I'm kidding. But no, that's like I said, I just, again, hope for the best for everyone. And again, hope people continue to keep winning and keeping up with Lone Star Park.
Oh, excellent. Erica, we appreciate all that you do and what you're doing, because that's, again, that's a part of the game I struggle with myself, but you calling out these horses, and it just goes to show that that's certainly a big part of the game. So thank you.
Yeah, it's no problem. Again, like I said, I love when everybody wins, it makes everybody happy, so it's all what it's about. Happy horsemen, right? And happy
That's
horses.
Right. So. Happy horse players.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. You all have a good night.
You too.
You too, Erica. Thank you.
All right. Sean, that was a marathon.
It was, but it was a great show, and we're still not done with Gerald. So I'll schedule that for another time. We'll have to make sure that that's a show Chris is on, because Chris did a lot of research, and I think he still has at least 5 pages left.
I got. Hey, Sean, it doesn't show up very good on my camera, but I've got stacks. I've got stacks and stacks of questions. But The good thing about Gerald, listen, Gerald is, I know the jockey Ronnie passed a few years back. His dad passed. Gerald's really, one of the last connections to Spectacular Bid. So I think, anytime we can pick his brain and ask him what he did and what he knows, I think is just a win-win at the end of the day, because those are the shows that I think are going to be really special looking back on all this and what we're doing here, 5-10 years down the road.
Yeah, and as you could tell with the interview, he's an open book. He's willing to answer any question, so that was nice too. Because obviously you can research. There's a lot out there, so. But he was willing. He was a great guest, and we'll get him back on. We'll give it some time, and we'll get him back on and do part 2 of it, and make sure Chris is here for that one too. Which you did a fine job this week, sir.
I appreciate you, and I just want to publicly say, again, this is a positive community on horse racing. I appreciate all the comments, everybody coming on tonight. I've really had a fun time here over the past few days. Not that I want to replace Rich and all the great things that he does, but I really do appreciate sincerely what you guys have allowed me to do and allowed me to kind of learn a little bit about this week as we progress to other things down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate all what you do, and we are looking forward to your new show.
All right. Awesome. And I got a call right after this call to talk about that, and hopefully potentially maybe be doing something here in the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that. So any last words, Sean?
So tomorrow night, we're going to cover Monmouth Park on Saturday. The big races, race 11, 12, and 13. We will have Samantha Perry on. She's the paddock host at Monmouth Park. You also see her on TVG a lot of times at Monmouth when they're covering Monmouth. So she'll be another fantastic guest, and we'll cover some of the big races at Monmouth.
And I think tomorrow the guys have one more show left. I don't know how many more days of Royal Ascot is there. Do you know?
I do not know. Well, I'd imagine, at least, I don't know if tomorrow's the last, because they have tomorrow, but then they have what they do the show tomorrow will be for Friday. So they have at least Friday, but I'm not sure if it goes after that or not. I would imagine it's probably done after Friday, but I'm not
so
sure.
If you're on watching this and you're an early bird and you're going to play Royal Ascot tomorrow, the good news is they already recorded the show from this afternoon. So you can go back and you can match up what your picks are with what, Rich and Tom, what they have for picks and do the comparison. And hopefully you guys have a great day at Royal Ascot tomorrow. So I think it's already been, hour and 8 minutes, Sean. I told you I could talk. And I got about 8 million other topics I want to talk about. We're going to have to do this again tomorrow morning or maybe tomorrow night.
Well, what are you going to do about your handicapping show? You're going to be here all night. You may just stay on YouTube all night.
I might just stay on and just do a marathon. But seriously, one of the things that I actually capped Delaware Park early this morning. I didn't touch a PP. I'm actually working on something that I think is going to help new handicappers with a visual on having a way to pick some winners and a way that I'm doing it. And I'm going to share that as a public share. And I think you're going to really like that. So stay tuned for that. I'm still tweaking it a little bit here and there, but it's something I'm really excited about that, I pictured something in my mind and I've been able to actually get it to come out the way I want it to look like.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
So, well, thank you again, Sean, for the week. Had a great time. I know it's Wednesday night, so you go on break here. I know tomorrow night you guys got a show, but I hope whoever you're playing or whatever you're doing this weekend, I hope it always ends up in the
winner circle.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.